yeah, man. You know, it's the whole concept of death that is totally thrown off in the Bible, and that Christians must, revisit and reanalyze, and come to, comb through once again, and evaluate all the true characteristics of what it is to be like Christ. You know what I'm saying? And as I'm beating in and trying to explain, the definition of death and the understanding of death must be revisited. It must be understood as death ultimately being the beginning of a new life. As death ultimately being something that really should be sacrificial. And also, the whole concept of sacrifice. The whole concept of sacrifice, and us as being living sacrifices. Us offering ourselves, to each other. And us serving each other as ultimately sacrifices. Sacrificing for each other. Human sacrifices for one another, and that's what the ultimate. That's some of the key things of being Christ-like. Is sacrificing for one another. And that whole understanding of death. Understanding that death being the greatest power that the devil has, the greatest so-called power that this so-called devil had, and the way that we really, we see death as a physical thing. We see death as something of the body, when actually, in cosmically speaking, we are life. We are life itself. What lies inside of us is life itself. So there's no such thing as death to the true spiritual individual. And the whole concept of death holds no weight to the true spirit, to the true spiritual individual. And see the whole deal is your pastor totally he totally depends on your lack of knowledge. And he's totally reaping from your lack of knowledge, totally earning from your lack of knowledge, and because the day that y'all wake up, the day that y'all begin to start understanding, the game is over, and his vacations are over, and his pastor annual, anniversary, where so many congregations are giving these pastors, $50,000 or $100,000, annually, just in a drop. You know what I'm saying? Just in one service. I often say, if I really wanted to be a hustler, if I really wanted to be a hustler, I would have been a preacher. You know what I'm saying? And that's also why I was saying, at some point, you really can't even blame the preacher. The congregation is just as guilty in these crimes of ignorance. It's just as guilty with this ignorance, just as guilty of this ignorance as the pastor is. You know what I'm saying? Just as guilty. Just as guilty, and it's really crazy, and it's really the congregation to the church is like the people to America. It's the exact same parallel, So right now in this society and in this world of hustlers and in this world of hustler shit, what else what else is better? What else is better than being a damn preacher? You know what I'm saying? What else is a greater hustle than being a preacher, in this world of hustlers, man? You understand? And that's very real. And that's very real, And another thing that is very crazy to me, is the whole point that really the church of the black community has really been like the greatest. How can I say this? The church of the black community has really been the greatest economic drain in the black community. You understand? So many people that could be giving, that could really be providing great economic infrastructure to the community. The church has truly been the greatest economic drain to the community. The greatest economic drain. And it really acts as a battery. It really acts as a battery for white supremacy. You understand? And just based off of what Christ said, just based off of what Christ said, as referencing, because if we were just to use that one saying, everything in the Bible is about that one saying that Christ said, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So this would ultimately make your pastor a devil, whether he likes it or not, whether he's trying to be or not, whether he's conscious of it or not. And I hope that they're not conscious, and I hope that they're not conscious of this. I hope this is something that they are just drawing dots on. You understand? So to draw that parallel from what Christ said when he says, my people are destroyed from a lack of knowledge, and for a preacher to be someone who ultimately is reaping from your lack of knowledge, whether he knows it or not, this would make him a devil. Whether he knows it or not, whether he's conscious of it or not. And that is the ultimate scheme of the devil, is to have one unconscious of themselves, and to separate and to ruin that relationship between the indwelling God, and to totally alter that relationship. You understand? Based on self-destruction. So I would imagine that he wouldn't know, but that is ultimately where Satan would have to have you. Satan would have to have you in this complete state where you're not so aware of the foolishness, you're not so aware of the true backwardness that you are causing. You understand? And all of this comes to a point where so many people, it'd be like, oh, that nigga Prophet Williams crazy, but see, that's the key, and that's the point. That's the point. If knowledge is supposed to sound crazy. Knowledge is supposed to be off the wall. The shit's supposed to sound crazy. You know what I'm saying? Learning is supposed to be new. It's supposed to be some shit you've never heard. Because if I'm telling you some shit that you already know, if I'm telling you some shit you already know, I'm wasting your time. I'm taking your money. I'm hustling you. And that's ultimately what the pastor is doing in the church. You know what I'm saying? He's sitting up there repeating shit that your parents and grandparents have been hearing since they were 6 and 7 fucking years old. You know what I'm saying? And they dropping change in his bucket for that shit. For to say shit that they've been reading since they were 6 and 7. And that's the whole point to true knowledge. True knowledge is supposed to be so off the fucking wall. You know what I'm saying? And that's the real deal. Because if I'm telling you something that you already know, I'm taking your money. So knowledge is always supposed to be some off the wall shit. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm just here telling you some shit you already know, that's mental masturbation. That's mentally masturbating. Like I said, that's just a total waste of time. So we have to understand. We have to understand that, and all of this is based off of the whole concept of groupthink. People afraid to really think for themselves. And church is a real groupthink experience, because people don't even get to experience freedom on a level of thought. Even on a level of thought, and even just asking questions. There are so many things that pass through Christians. There are so many questions that pass through the soul, especially as reading the Bible, that you can't even ask in church. There's so many things that pass through your soul that so many people feel embarrassed to mention while they're in church. So is this what is this a freedom, or is this more of a slavery that you're experiencing? Just in the church, there's so many things that you can't even. There's so much conversation that is almost banned from the church. And it can't. You just can't achieve. You just can't do God's work when you prohibit things. You understand? You cannot do God's work when you prohibit things. In the simple fact that people have let the pastor dupe them. Just as I was saying, the body being the first temple. Anywhere I take this 5'9" frame, I can open up, speak truth, and have church. You know what I'm saying? Just those type of robberies and those type of misunderstandings have truly prohibited the world from ultimate progression. From its ultimate progression. Those are definitely the summarizing topics. The summarizing things that I wanted to say. That ultimately, for the preacher, our harmony, their harmony is our havoc. Or our havoc is their harmony. However one would want to say it. And even back in the day, baptism was something that was for adults. Jesus got baptized when he was 30, man. Let's be real, and now we have kids that are young, that are of youth, and we're encouraging them to get baptized. When actually in ancient times, back in history, and people didn't get baptized until they were mature, they were of age. Very, very important to understand. And that's why I say, at what point, just the simple fact that Christians can't even, ask certain questions, and they feel, they feel this regret for wondering certain things and asking certain things in their mind. This is ultimately, this is ultimately showing us, that we have gotten away from letting our light shine. It's all about letting our light shine, and that's what I'm doing right now. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. You understand? What I'm doing now, this is truly, this is the gospel. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. And so many of us in church, have turned that light off, and we really cover that light up, and we truly just, we have truly dimmed it. We have truly dimmed the light, and we refuse to let our light shine based on what the devil thinks, and based on just fear, basically. And there is no excuse. There's no excuse. This little light of mine, and I'm really not seeing, us letting our light shine. And I think that is something for us to really begin, start understanding once again. And the greatest backwardness, one of the greatest summarizing backwardnesses, it's really just like Albert Einstein said. The world is a terrible place, and of course bad people do bad things. But really the world is a terrible place because the good people don't do nothing. And that is really one of my summarizing points to the backwardness, is really everything in society is fucked up like this because of the good people. That's the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Everything is fucked up because of the good people. Because good people do nothing. Good people just know the shit that's going on. Good people just see it and don't act on it. Good people continue to let crime, circulate the earth, and speak none on it, and have no kind of constructive conversation, and begin to move in no kind of way to resolve these issues. So that is one of the main, another one of the main backwardnesses, is the good people. Crazy as it sounds, good people. Good people not doing anything. And church is full of good, beautiful, loving people. Good, beautiful, awesome, loving energy. You know what I'm saying? Good, energetic people. Church is full of those type of people, but because they have this lack of knowledge, this has really driven us all the way to the left, so to speak. So pretty much, man, I really do believe that I have covered most, I believe I've covered and filled every void on the backwardness, in this part of the backwardness, in church, And I definitely do appreciate y'all for listening, because I'm finna come with this next part, which is education. And, it's a beautiful thing, man. So stay tuned for the backwardness part 2, education. Cheers.